Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So I'm just going to get right into it. I put my phone down so I can talk to you for a few minutes. It's probably going to be a longer video. Please don't mind my eye that looks like I got punched with the fall season being here. I have allergies, so my eyes are a little bit swollen from them itching and me rubbing them. I'm trying not to rub them. But yeah, I'm looking a little swollen. So yeah, don't mind that. But yeah, I just wanted to get right into it. I'll say a few things. One, I actually wrote about this topic previously and I posted it in a blog on my website, so I'll link it down below if you want to read about it, but I think I posted it a couple of years ago. And I really felt compelled within these past few days to talk about it again. Probably because of the changes going on in my own life and the things that I'm noticing are evolving with me, but also what I'm noticing within the spiritual community and spiritual circles as a whole. I'm seeing certain things happening that I'm saying like, okay, things are, moving along very nicely, but then I'm also seeing a chunk of people that, I'm saying like, okay, things aren't moving so well. So, I also want to say that this video is primarily for people who feel like they're stuck, they don't know how to move forward, or they feel like something has plateaued and it's time to make a change, but they don't know how and they don't know like how to move forward from where they are. This is not for people that feel secure and comfortable where they are. And when I say comfortable, I mean that they feel solid, like, yes, this is, I know I'm where I need to be, I'm on the right track. So, I mean, you can still listen, obviously, if you're one of those people. But this isn't trying to tell you to do something different if you're already feeling secure about where you are. So I just want to say that. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Spirituality, for the most part, is seen as kind of like a segmented aspect of our society, as part of our world. It's something, and I've talked about it before, it's something that has been capitalized upon. It's something that's bought and sold for the most part. It's not something that's seen as just a natural part of life. It's not seen as something that is basically that just comes, that's inherent to all beings, that's just flowing regardless of whether we want to buy or sell certain products or not. And because spirituality is, capitalized upon and it's just become something that's over there, it's like those people that are spiritual. Because of that, like a lot of assumptions are made about what it means to be spiritual. So if someone says that they're a spiritual person, people tend to make all sorts of assumptions about that person and maybe what they're doing, what they're involved in. So for example, one of the assumptions might be that they're, I don't know, they work with crystals, they're balancing their chakras, they take salt baths, they work with the moon cycles. Maybe, they don't work a regular full-time job, and if they do, they work in a spiritual store. Maybe they do drugs, or, they smoke, or they're their views on the healthcare system, maybe they're not into Western medicine, maybe they're completely natural. There's a lot of assumptions that are made about spiritual people, right? Or people that have an affinity for spirituality. And I'm not going to say that that's totally wrong, but it's also not totally accurate either. Those assumptions come from the fact that spirituality is seen as something that is the other. It's something that's over there, as opposed to something that's just a natural part of life. It's something that is life, expressing itself all the time, right? So a lot of people, when they start their spiritual journey, they start with the capitalized version of it. They start with the kind of other version of it, because they don't realize that it's natural. So you have to kind of come into it from that space, right? But because of those assumptions, it actually creates a lot of limitations. And I noticed this among light workers, starseeds, people that consider themselves to be, people that consider themselves to be people that are here to raise the vibration of the planet, right? People that are here to offer some sort of evolution to help people wake up, quote unquote, wake up, and help people to expand, in whatever way. I'm noticing some limitations with people in that area. And it's a shame, but I also get it, because people within these groupings that consider themselves to be these things don't know anything else. But let me explain. I'll explain what it is that I'm sensing, really. One of the things that I'm sensing and seeing within the spiritual community is that a lot of people are limiting themselves because they don't know other ways to expand that are like in alignment with what their soul wants, but helps them to still feel like they're engaging with their spirituality. So what you'll notice a lot of times, and maybe you've noticed it yourself, is that maybe you feel called to expand, but the only thing that you're considering is something within the spiritual field. So like being a spiritual entrepreneur where you have your own healing practice, or you practice Reiki, you do psychic readings, you do attunements, or you teach classes. So it's like within the spiritual field, it's like you could only be those things, right? But we have to be careful of this because that's actually very limiting. It's actually very limiting. And I'm noticing this with people in the spiritual community is I see them stagnated. I see them actually stagnated in the sense that personally me, I can feel that they want to move on, but they don't know how because all they're considering is what's in the spiritual arena. So what I want to say to you now is you're limiting yourself. If you're in this space, you're limiting yourself. You're keeping yourself way too restricted in what it is that you can do. So my suggestion to you is keep your options open. Kind of going back to what I was saying before about the spiritual assumptions, or assumptions about spiritual people. The assumptions around being spiritual is that the goal would be to not work a 9-to-5 job, because if you work a 9-to-5 job, you're in the matrix, right? And you're easier to control, and this and that, and you're hypnotized, and you don't. Like I said, on some level, yes, that has some truth to it, but it's not totally accurate either. It's one thing to just start working and doing something because you feel like you're supposed to, or you feel like you have to, or you're not even thinking about the intention of what you're doing at all. You're just kind of going with the motions and you're not intentional about what you're doing. That's one thing. But there comes a time on your spiritual journey when you start to evolve, and then you may actually feel called to expand in such a way where you may have to go back into the system. And I say have to in the sense that you may feel guided to do that. And that's not a bad thing. This is what I want people to understand. If you feel guided to move in that direction, well, first of all, you'd have to open yourself up enough to allow that possibility to even enter your mind. But if you're only considering the spiritual field, then you're either going to reject it if it comes up, or you're just going to keep yourself closed off to it overall, which is not good because you're limiting yourself. All right. So it's not a bad thing if you do receive the impression to do something that's not entrepreneurial, that doesn't involve you, let's say, having your own business. It's okay. Because one of the things that we as lightworkers, starseeds, changemakers, whatever you want to call it, one of the things that we're here to do is actually transform the systems that exist. So as you come back to who you truly are as a soul, as a being of divine expression, you will bring the light into those systems. So yes, we might need you in those hospitals, in those courtrooms. in those schools, wherever, many different fields that you can get into. Those spaces need that energy. I'm shaking the camera, sorry. Those spaces need that energy. They need that kind of energy that has the more expanded perspective of life. Okay? So now, also know that there are many ways that this can express itself. Like, you may feel guided on some level to maybe go back into the system, and maybe that's temporary until you're able to get your own thing going. But even in that sense, it's unique. It's unique to you. And it's a more refined version of your unique expression as a spiritual being. See, like, even with like readings, healings, Reiki classes, there's only but so much you could do with that. There's only but so far you can go with that. Now, like I said, if this is something that you feel good about, good. Like, if you feel like you're on the right track with it, stick with it. But if you're feeling like something is off, you're feeling a little bit stagnated, it might be time to start looking into other options. Because here's the thing. One of the things that we're here to do is to create physical change on the planet. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it for however long I feel guided to. We're here to create physical change. We're here to create change, not just for those that are considered to be spiritual. We're here to create change for all beings, regardless of their religion, their belief system, their race, their, gender, sexual orientation. We're here to create change for all people. We're here to create a more harmonious and balanced world for all beings. But in order for that to happen, those that feel called to transform those systems need to answer that call. Now, of course, you could do whatever you want, but it's worth considering. It's worth looking into. So be mindful of how you might be limiting yourself because you want to be spiritual. Like I said in the beginning, being spiritual is not limited to a certain kind of practice, to a certain kind of interest. After a certain point on your spiritual journey, it becomes less about that. You basically come full circle, and it's almost like you're just a normal person again, where you maybe don't even need the same level of spiritual practice that you had in the beginning. Maybe you don't need to use the crystals anymore or as much. Maybe you don't need to do certain things anymore. Or maybe you still continue to do those things because you want to, and that's fine. But this is basically what I'm saying. There's a lot of nuance, gray area, variability that could come into this. So it doesn't have to look a certain way. So after some point, you get to a space where you might just be a regular person, just with a renewed perspective, a transformed relationship with yourself and with life. And so at that point, you can basically do whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't make any difference. As long as you're following your inner compass. But you see the difference, right? When you first, let's say, you first started to work a regular job, you might have just gone into that, I got to make money. I got to survive. So you were willing to basically do whatever it takes. I'm not saying everyone does this, but a lot of people come into into the workforce on survival mode. I got to make money. I got to eat. But if you reach a certain point in your spiritual journey where you're guided to do something that's a bit more traditional, you're not coming at it from the same perspective as you did in the beginning. Now you're coming at it from the perspective, no, this is what I'm being called to do. This is my passion, or this is my vocation. very different intentions. Very different intentions. All right. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Keep your options open. Be careful of limiting yourself. All right. It's time to level up. For some of you, it's time to level up and do something different. Continue to expand. All right. I wrote about this in the blog too, where I said that some people may notice that they're going to let go and release maybe doing readings. Maybe they don't feel like doing readings anymore. Or they don't feel like doing certain, healing practices anymore, just as a service. Because they're leveling up. They're going to the next level of their evolution and spiritual expression, which means that, it becomes less restrictive and more expansive, to include more people, and to be more free. It's more free, actually. All right. So, and I just want to share this too before I end the video. I said this would be a longer video. But I actually worked in a spiritual bookshop for a while, doing readings and stuff. And after a while, when I got to a certain point in my spiritual evolution, I could really feel myself start to grow out of doing readings at the shop. It was almost like, I'm not judging anyone, but this is what was coming up. It's like, why do y'all need to know this stuff? Like, why are y'all so interested in knowing X, Y, and Z? Like, why do y'all even need to know that? For me, it started to become pointless for me to be in this space and do readings in this way. And it felt like a plant that was in a pot that was too small. So I needed to spread my wings. So it was at that point that I actually stopped promoting readings. I was still doing them, and technically I'm still doing them now. I'm still doing like ascension mentorship work and like intuitive consultations. Like that's still available for people. I don't know for how long though, because, I'm going through my own changes and they're big. So, so I'm still offering that. So, but I stopped promoting it as much because I wanted people to see me not just as a reader. I wanted people to see me more so, I guess, as just like a spiritual practitioner or someone who's not limited to just readings. So, but people love readings. But like I said, there's always a space for readers. I don't think that's going anywhere. But I also think that we need to start encouraging people to tune into their own intuition and to get a clear sense of what's right for them. Because a reader is not, like, they'll tell you what they're getting, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. Like, you are in charge of your life, So, like I said, there's always a space for readers, but at the same time, it's your life. You need to be able to tune into your own soul and get a clear sense of what your own soul is telling you. And this is especially true if you see like several readers and, just to get confirmation and you want to know before, you got to start trusting yourself. Things are moving along, so you got to start trusting yourself and not always have to wait for somebody else to tell you what you're supposed to be doing before you do it. You got to you got to trust yourself enough to know that you have all the wisdom and the know-how to be able to navigate through a situation. I'm not saying it's easy. It does take risk, but got to do it. All right. All right. So I think that's it. So, let me know your thoughts. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.